Huge win over Duke on Saturday, but huge letdown potential tonight in Miami. Can't let it happen.
This is David Noel, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day, all part of the Locked On Network, which is now the #1 sports podcast network. Really appreciate you making us your first listen or watch to get your Tuesday going the right way, and I want to give a special shout out to all our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by Mazda, who puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Coming up on the show today, we got a massive game at Miami tonight. Tar Heels and Hurricanes tied right now in the ACC standings, both trying to get into that top 4 double bye position. So we got to get ready for North Carolina, a quick turnaround after that Duke game. Will Carolina have a letdown? Can't afford it. We'll get to our Four Corners preview, including another big test for Carolina defensively, looking at another team that goes double big. Will Jarin Stevenson stay in the starting lineup? All of that. And then we'll get to know Miami a little bit. They have a guard that's been out for a couple games. Will he return tonight? And Caleb Wilson facing another former AAU teammate in this game. We'll get to all of that. Here we go. Let's dive right in. Massive win Saturday night. Huge, crazy, awesome. But unlike the Super Bowl on Sunday night, that is not the last game of the season. So while there's all of that great energy and activity, and oh my goodness, what a moment, you cannot let that be the crowning achievement of the season. I've seen a lot of Duke folks since that win say, boy, that was North Carolina's national championship, and that's big little brother syndrome from them. And it's like, okay, so you know how you make that not true? You just go out and you keep following it up with win after win after win. You cannot let that be the crown jewel, the crowning achievement of the 25-26 season. The way you do that is you quickly flip your attention and get ready for this game. You can very easily cancel out all the good vibes from the Duke game by taking an L tonight. And we've seen that multiple times, either on the front end or the back end of a Duke game, win or lose. Why? Because there is, we talked about it last week. This is not a Duke game is not a game like any other game. The emotional intensity is crazy. The bigger physical toll it takes on you is bonkers. And so what Carolina is going to have to do is get themselves mentally right, physically right, and be ready to go. And keep in mind, Miami, the brand new coach, Jay Lucas, who was a Duke assistant last year, they're wanting to prove themselves, because when we get to talking about Miami later in the show, one of the things I'm going to point out to you is that they've not done a ton from a resume standpoint. Actually, I will talk a little more about that here in the first segment here in a second. But I'm not worried about the fellas headspace. A lot of times you worry about a trap game, like ahead of a Duke game. I was worried about that with the Syracuse game last week. You worried about not being dialed in or locked in. It's not that side of it I'm concerned about at all. I truly think the fellas are ready for this game. They know that Miami's a challenge. They're not overlooking them. They know, hey, even though we've beaten Duke now, even though we won at Virginia, because of some of our other losses, not the Michigan State one, not even really the SMU one. That was just what happens sometimes. But because of the 2 California losses, you cannot settle. The moment you become complacent with what you've just achieved, you lose it all. What I appreciate is that in the days since Saturday, and even on Saturday night, I've heard both Caleb Wilson and Seth Trimble talk about immediately switching focus to prepare for Miami. That makes me so happy, because your 2 main leaders are locked in, and they're not going to let the rest of their teammates not be locked in either. And obviously, the coaching staff has been around for a while. They know what it takes to get back up for a game after a Duke game. And so, man, I hope with everything in me that Carolina's been doing everything they need to get themselves completely physically, emotionally, whatever, ready for this game. And part of that is Miami appears and seems to be a strong team. The thing is, I don't know to what level that is. Here's what I mean. It's hard to know just how good they are, because while their record is good, while they're tied with Carolina in the ACC standings, their strength of schedule doesn't hold a candle to Carolina's. For example, they've only played this season 3 teams who are 30th or better in the net. They've lost all 3 of those games. Miami, 0-3 against net top 30 teams. Carolina, by that same metric, 5 games, and they're 4-1 in those. We could do it with other things too. Miami's played just 2 top 25 games. They lost both of those. They've played just 3 top 50 net games. They've lost all 3 of those. Carolina, versus the top 25 net teams, has played 4 games. They're 3-1. Versus top 50 net teams, Carolina's played 7 games. They're 5-2. So from that regard, Carolina has had a lot more opportunities against better teams and won more of them. Miami literally hasn't beaten any of them. And so I think they're a good team. They've got good talent, but there's not enough data points. There's not enough to really figure out what it is. The other thing is Carolina has had its road struggles, right? 3 of the 4 losses are true road games: at Dallas, at Stanford, at Cal. Now, they've got a couple wins since then, obviously picking up. Well, not since then. The Kentucky win was before that. But since then, they've won at Virginia. That's huge for the Tar Heels. But now they need to – and they won at Georgia Tech, too. I forgot about that one. But now they need to go do it, right? Like the Georgia Tech game, they proved that they could go on a road and smash a team. I want to see something more like that. But the other good news is that Carolina has proven this season that they can win close games. I went back and looked. The Tar Heels have 6 games that have finished with a margin of victory or defeat of 5 or fewer points. I'll term that a close game for the purposes of this discussion. In those 6 games, Carolina's 5-1. They beat Kentucky at Kentucky by 3. They beat Ohio State by 1. They beat Wake Forest by 3. Should have been a bigger win. Shouldn't even be in this conversation. Lost to Stanford by 5. That's disappointing. Beat Virginia by 5 and beat Duke by 3. So Carolina is figuring out ways to get, and some of those, they were about like Ohio State, nice comeback. Kentucky, nice comeback. Duke, nice comeback. Virginia, nice comeback. That's the problem, though. I'm saying nice comeback a lot. I would love to see the Tar Heels go down, get a lead, get ahead of Miami, and bring this thing home. Now, I do not expect Miami to go away. This is going to be a tough basketball game. Believe you that. And also, you need to know a big part of that. As I said, these 2 teams are tied in the ACC standings. This is a critical game. And actually, this is a critical stretch for a bunch of ACC teams trying to figure out ACC standings. Here's what I mean. As I'm recording this on Monday, about an hour before another critical ACC game tips off. Tonight, or last night, Monday night, NC State was at Louisville. Louisville right now, before that game, is a half game behind the Tar Heels in Miami, and NC State is a game and a half ahead of Carolina, tied with Virginia. All of those teams have played one more ACC game than both Carolina and Miami. That's why there's that half game. And so as you are listening to or watching this, you know the result of that game. Did Louisville fall farther behind, or did Louisville catch up and NC State fall back? Either way, it's all jumbled up. And here's why this game is important. Carolina and Miami, both jockeying for that. This is the lone game between these 2 teams. And so just like the win over Virginia, that's a crucial tiebreaker thing. You would love to get another tie-breaking winning game. Like, you win this game, you don't play Miami again. And when it comes to those top 4 seeds, man, owning tiebreakers against teams could prove critical. Again, Carolina plays NC State next Tuesday night. That's the only game against them. Another road opportunity to pick up not only a big ACC win, but a tie-breaking opportunity as well. And then, there's more ACC stuff. This coming Saturday, Miami goes to NC State. Another one that's going to play into this. Also on Saturday, at the top of the ACC, right now, Clemson and Duke are tied at 10-1, I believe it is, at the top of the ACC. One of those teams is going to fall a game back of the other, coming back to the pack a little bit here. And so I mean, there's and all of these top ACC teams have to play each other multiple more times down the stretch of this season over these final, four more regular season weeks. That's it. So Carolina needs to win these games, and it starts tonight at Miami. Really excited to see how they come out. Now, we got to get to our Four Corners preview for this game. Carolina's defense is going to be tested yet again by Miami, who scores a bunch of points, and they do it inside the perimeter, where Carolina is really good defensively. Who wins that strength on strength? We'll talk about it in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mazda. Y'all, this is Mazda's moving the game forward moment for those who show there's more to the score than what's just on screen. My moving the game forward moment from the Duke game is interestingly not Caleb Wilson, but the rest of the Tar Heels. And here's why. Caleb just shows up and delivers game after game after game. We all know that outside of Caleb and a little bit of Seth Trimble, most of the rest of the Heels didn't show up in the first half of that game. But man, kudos to the rest of the roster. Caleb held things afloat in the first half, and a bunch of other dudes showed up in the second half. What a second half performance from Henri Veesaar. What a second half performance from Derek Dixon. And both of those guys, not just scoring the basketball, rebounding for Henri, assists. Oh, the game winning assist for Derek Dixon, right? Seth doing a little bit in the first half, but doing even more in the second half. That's how you move the game forward, and that's how Carolina beat Duke. It's these moments that remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and that I never quit mentality. Mazda puts that same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel, but what it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. This episode is also brought to you by Wayfair. The new year is here, and it's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home right now because it's cold and you're snowed in, you might as well love the space you live in and how it looks and feels. That's why you should turn to Wayfair, a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start 2026 fresh. They got everything you need for a full home refresh, organizing your space, updating a living room, a work from home scenario like I've got. I'm going to be doing more of that coming up this summer. Man, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what you need and what fits your budget. At our house, we just repainted our living room a couple weeks ago, and man, it looks so cool. And Wayfair is the perfect place to get decor and accent pillows and stuff like that to make it feel even calmer and cleaner and more put together. Shopping with Wayfair is easy, delivery is smooth, and everything arrives exactly as expected. So get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listen or watch of the day, and making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network out there. It's all because of you guys who tune in every single day to hang out and make this place what it is. Thank you. And if you want to be even more involved in Locked On Tar Heels, man, check out our Everydayers Club with all sorts of great perks and ways that you can dive in. A members-only Discord, get episodes with no interruptions, all sorts of stuff like that. Check it out. The link is in the show notes. Four Corners preview. Let's dive into it. Number one, Carolina's defense, which has been up and down through ACC play, is going to be tested yet again. Saturday night was a moment against Duke where defense, not as much in the first half. They were weaker. They allowed Duke to be the aggressor. And then in the second half, Carolina figured out what they needed to do. They realized that they could attack Duke. They realized how to attack Duke. They got after loose balls. They were trying to do everything they could. Carolina's defense really put the clamps on Duke some, and Duke's percentages all tanked in the second half. Carolina was able to get it figured out. Well, that is going to happen again tonight against Miami. The Canes are fourth in ACC in scoring, 84.2 a game. That's top 35 nationally. As a team, Miami is the only team in the ACC shooting over 50% from the field, not just on twos, from the field. Carolina's going to have some work on their hands. But where does it come from for Miami? Is it the threes or the twos? It is not the threes. Miami, 34.2%, worse than Carolina from three. Carolina's been moving up in three-point percentage, but where Miami is great and frankly elite is inside the arc, where they shoot 59.3%, 19th nationally. Oh my, that's really great, you would say, against most teams. But then you look at the Tar Heels and you remember Oh, yes, there's some dudes who are very big and long and athletic and can move around and do stuff. So while it's great what Miami does, Carolina is 5th in the nation in 2-point field goal percentage defense, only allowing 44.3%. As we often do, we look at the middle of that. Carolina allows 44.3% from 2. Miami shoots it at 59.3%. So that's about a 15-point percentage defense between them. And so you're looking to be, less than 7.5% of that. So basically, I want Carolina to hold Miami to 51% or less from 2. Heck, let's go on. Well, let's get greedy. Hold Miami to under 50% from 2, and you're putting yourself in a great position to win this game because they don't shoot from 3 well. And we're going to talk about it in just a second, but they're not great at the free throw line either. So if Miami is great at shooting these twos, who does it? Who are the main perpetrators? It's Ernest Udeh, who shoots 72.5% from 2. Shelton Henderson, their great freshman, who shoots 61.5% from 2, but catch this, 8.9 attempts per game from there. And then Malik Reneau, the Indiana transfer, who shoots 56.5%, but on 13 attempts a game from 2. Translation, that's their 3, 4, and 5. So it's going to be incumbent on Jarin Stevenson, on Caleb Wilson, on Henri Veesaar, on Jaydon High if he comes in, on Jonathan Powell if he has moments at the 3, whomever it is, to really lock in and slow these guys down. Going to have our eyeballs on that. Defense in particular at the 3, 4, and 5 is crucial. Number 2 in the Four Corners preview, another strength for the Miami Hurricanes is their offensive rebounding percentage. But guess what? In the second straight strength on strength moment, you know that Carolina is very, very good in defensive rebounding. And the Tar Heels, let's remember, are coming off a game in which they got embarrassed on the glass against Duke. So you know that there is going to be a concerted effort to get back right in this regard. But Miami, right now, 22nd nationally with a 36.9% offensive rebounding rate. But Carolina is 17th in the nation, getting 28.1 defensive rebounds per game. So again, something's got to give. And I watched Coach Jay Lucas's local Miami press availability on Monday. And one of the things he talked about is he really is highlighting with his team rebounding right now, and in particular, offensive rebounds. He said, I've told my guys, I want a 40% offensive rebounding rate. I want to see 15 or more total offensive rebounds. And then in totality for rebounds, I want us to be getting 40 or more a game. Now, those are lofty numbers and big to attain to. So what it means for Carolina, particularly on that offensive glass for Miami, is the Tar Heels have to play great defensive possessions and then end them with a defensive rebound. It means nothing if you play 28 great seconds of defense and a shot goes up and you can't corral it and you can't be a big boy and go grab it. Carolina has to be tough from the outset of this game, not allow offensive rebounds, and then critically not allow second chance points to Miami. And part of that is number 3 in our Four Corners preview. This is a game that Roy Williams will absolutely love. Why? Because not only does Carolina go 2 bigs, but so does Miami. Coach Lucas, in this same media availability I was just talking about, talked about how I think this is a really interesting matchup he was discussing, because I feel like we run a lot of the same stuff that North Carolina does, and we go double big as well. That's with Ernest Udeh at the 5 and Malik Reneau at the 4, at least in terms of their starters. And so as you think about that, and then you also think about the fact that it's small forward, they have their best freshman is Shelton Henderson, who's really, really strong. He was initially a Duke commit. Jay Lucas, who was a Duke assistant, brought him down with him to Miami. There was a lot of wringing of hands about that one. And so that makes me ask the question, do you remember Carolina switched their starting 5 on Saturday night, brought Jarin Stevenson back into the lineup? And I think in order to mitigate Henderson at the 3, I think you got to rock with that again. Henderson's 6'6", and so Jarin's height and length could bother Henderson and help Carolina out a lot. So if you're the Tar Heels, use that size to your advantage. Miami likes to be big and play big, but Carolina is even bigger, at least in terms of height. I'll explain what I mean there in just a second. So those 3 guys, 3 through 5, go 6'6", 6'9", 6'11". Carolina at those same positions goes 6'10", 6'10", 7 foot. And so you got a bit of height advantage there. However, specifically at the 4 and 5, Carolina's got the size, the height. Miami's got the girth. Here's what I mean. Malik Reneau at the 4, he's 6'9", but 238. Caleb Wilson, 6'10", but just 215, giving up 23 pounds there. At the 5, Ernest Udeh is 6'11", to Veesaar's 7 foot, but check this out. Udeh, 266 pounds to Veesaar's 225. That's 41 pounds he's given up. So Veesaar going to have to be crafty, use his inside out game. I can guarantee you they're not going to be switching 1 through 5 because Udeh can't get out and do it. So, man, utilize what Carolina does well. Wilson moving so well in space. Veesaar picking and popping, hitting those, make Udeh come out. And if he does, burn him or get other guys moving into the paint. That's what I want to see. Number 4 in the Four Corners preview, just like it was Saturday against Duke. A swing stat here is going to be free throw shooting. Neither team is good. Carolina is 14th in the ACC in free throw percentage. Miami is 15th. Carolina 68.6% from the line. Miami 68.1. Not great. But here's the odd thing. As bad as both teams are at the line, they are number 1 and 2 in the ACC in terms of free throw attempts per game. So they both get there a ton, but they don't knock them down a ton. Similar to Carolina's issues, Miami's struggles are because their bigs aren't great free throw shooters. In fact, Shelton Henderson is like under 60%. Ooh, woof, gross. Now, for Carolina, we've been talking about it and tracking that they've been much better the last 3 games. Carolina's been over 70% at the stripe in each of the last 3 games. They've shot 47 of 61 in that span, a total of 77%. Much, much better. And so the question for tonight is which team can not only get to the line a bunch, but knock them down when they get there. So for Carolina, get there and keep shooting like you have been. And if you're the Tar Heels on defense, keep doing what you've been doing so well. Carolina is elite at not fouling and not sending the other team to the line. We saw that evidenced in the second half against Duke. Just 1 foul committed. I'm sure there were more, but fine, whatever. And so don't send Miami to the line. But if you do, you're probably in good shape. All right, that's our Four Corners preview for this game. We got to get to know Miami's personnel a little more. We'll make predictions. Oh, you know what's coming there, right? Yeah. We'll get to all that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about TurboTax. Look, tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. And I cannot tell you how much relief that would give me because tax season stresses me out so hard. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without that guesswork or that stress. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with the local TurboTax expert in person, or if you don't have much time, you can do it online. And then they handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms, and then they're going to work to get you every deduction they possibly can. Then you just upload your documents, go about your day, and you'll get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's great. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. All you got to do is file by February 28th. You still got a couple weeks for that. So take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Here we go. Carolina down in Coral Gables at Miami today, Tuesday, February 10th at the Watsco Center. This one's 7 p.m. tip on ESPN. And man, the lines are close, you guys. FanDuel, Carolina favored as I record by 1.5 points. KenPom favors Miami by 1. Torvik.com favors Carolina by 1. So basically a toss-up game is what we're looking at here. All the more reason you got to be so locked in like I was talking about earlier. All-time series record, Carolina leads 29-10. They've won 3 straight. Really good there. And I don't know about you. It feels like Carolina lost to Miami a lot, but I went back and I was looking through the series like data points, and I think it's because there was a stretch back in the 13 and 14 seasons where Carolina lost 4 straight. I wonder if that was like when Larkin was there. Remember that Miami was pretty good in that stretch. But for the most part, since then, Carolina has mostly done well in the series. And similarly, I was like, I feel like Carolina struggles at Miami. Carolina's won 3 of the last 4 down in Florida. The one that really stands out to me that they lost was back in the championship season of 2017. Carolina played Virginia Tech on a Thursday night. What? Theo Pinson tweaked his ankle, some kind of sprain, and Carolina was down at Miami 2 days later on a Saturday. I was like, oh man, Theo didn't play. Carolina loses by like 15. So I think maybe that one hangs over me as well. But Carolina's had success down there. Got to keep it going. I've mentioned his name already, but their first year head coach after Jim Larinaga, remember, retired like at Christmas last year. That was kind of odd. But Jay Lucas comes down, was a coach, assistant coach at Duke, and comes down first year here. I tell you what, guys, I've been watching him, checking out how Miami plays. I really like Coach Lucas. I feel like he's got a good thirst for the game, enjoys what he's doing. He's great with the media. If you watch press conferences and stuff, I think he's going to be good for the ACC. So I think that's a great hire by the Canes. Make that happen. Big fan. First season, they're doing pretty well. And I expect, that they will hopefully continue to build a good team down there because we're trying to get the ACC back up, They're not ranked in the AP poll right now, but they are in others receiving votes. They were picked 8th in the ACC preseason. Obviously, as I said earlier, currently tied in 5th with the Tar Heels. They're 37th in the net. Right now, this is a Q1 game. It's going to stay that way. In fact, 6 of Carolina's final 8 are quad 1 games. The only ones that aren't is there's a quad 3 game. Pitt comes to Chapel Hill Saturday. That's a quad 3. And there's one other right now that's a quad 2. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. And so that's really good. A bunch more quad 1 opportunities, including this one. Another reason it's a critical resume boosting game. Miami, pretty close at both KenPom and Torvik. They're 43 at KenPom, 45 at Torvik. The offense is 52nd at both. A little bit of discrepancy with the defense. They're 42nd in defensive efficiency at KenPom, 61st at Torvik. Schedule or results-wise, they're 18-5 overall, 7-3 in ACC play. I alluded to it in the first segment, but they haven't really beaten anybody big. Like, their best wins are Ole Miss and Georgetown. And every other non-con win that they had were teams 200th or worst, essentially. Their ACC wins are Pitt at home, at Wake, Georgia Tech at home, at Notre Dame, at Syracuse, home against Stanford, and at Boston College. So even those ACC games is a bunch of not like, I don't know, maybe Stanford at home is their best ACC. I just don't know. Non-con losses, they had 2 of them, and it was to Florida and BYU, both understandable, both on neutral courts. And then there are 3 ACC losses at Clemson, understandable. Clemson tied for the conference lead right now. Home to FSU and home to Cal. Those are the ones that's like, Miami, what you doing out here? Let's get to the starters. Miami had a group that started 16 of their 23 games, but they've veered from that in their last 4. And all the changes have been in the backcourt. Those front court guys that we talked about in the last segment, Shelton Henderson at the 3, Reneau at the 4, and Ernest Udeh at the 5, have essentially been the same throughout all of it. The switcheroos in the backcourt, like Trey Donaldson is starter at the 1, comes over. It's 2 years at Auburn. He was at Michigan last year. He's 6'3". He's a bit banged up right now. And so he missed a couple games ago, but he's been going. Played 36, 37 minutes over the weekend. And so he's their second leading scorer at 15.9. You hear me say that? Their point guard is their second leading scorer. Again, massive test for the Tar Heels. Can't let him get unglued. At the 2, this is where the interesting thing is right now. Tru Washington generally starts at the 2. He's a 6'4" guard. He's their 4th leading scorer at 11.9 points per game. But he's been out for the last several games with a personal, undisclosed personal reason that they're not publicizing what that is. And so it's really kind of interesting. In fact, Coach Lucas updated it, and he said, quote, Tru is starting to come. This was on Monday's media availability with the ACC, not his local availability. He said, quote, Tru is starting to come back around and is feeling a little bit better and will be kind of around a little bit more this week. I don't know exactly what that means for the Carolina game or anything, but he has started to work his way back around being in the program and being better, end quote. That sounds very much to me like that dude ain't playing tonight. He's back around, but a lot of carefully chosen words, a lot of, as he said it, he was really paced, slowly paced. And I don't expect to see Tru Washington tonight, but it is something to keep an eye on. In his place will be Dante Allen, who has started these last 4 games while Washington has been out, as well as the 4th game before that when Donaldson was out. He's a 6'4" freshman. And guess what? Kind of a cool wrinkle. I very much remember Dante Allen because he won a Peach Jam championship in 2024 with the Knight Riders. Yes, that means for the 2nd straight game in a row, Caleb Wilson is facing a former AAU teammate. On Saturday, it was the Boozer twins. Tonight, it's Dante Allen. And I honestly didn't really know about Allen before like the Peach Jam championship game. And I remember watching that game and being like, oh, I like this guard. Who is this dude? And I learned more about him, learned where he was going. And so I've kind of kept my eyes on him. And I know Shelton Henderson is their dude, but Dante Allen's been playing well for Miami. So Carolina going to have to take care to guard him well tonight too. Again, Miami has some dudes to put pressure on Carolina. And so at the 3 is Shelton Henderson, their 6'6" freshman, 14.5 points a game. He's 3rd on the team. Malik Reneau, we've been talking about him. He's a 6'9" power forward, 20 points a game. He's their leading scorer, one of the leading candidates for first team all ACC right now. He's having a great season. He's an Indiana transfer. And then at the 5 is Ernest Udeh. You know, we talked about his size earlier, a guy that could bully Henri. So I'm really curious to see if Henry's ready for that and gonna have to contend with these front court guys. So then the depth. Their depth has taken some hits because we don't know if Tru Washington will play. Also, Marcus Allen, another rotation player for them, has been out since late November. And so really given about 6 guys the bulk of the minutes with Tru Washington out. The 5 starters I just mentioned, including Dante Allen, and then Timothé Matlekovic. And so since Washington's been out, he's been getting about 20 minutes a game. And then there's 2 other guys, Noam Dovrat, who's getting 8 or 9 minutes a game typically, and Saleh Altunatis, who's getting 8 to 9 minutes a game as well. So I expect it to be chiefly those 5 starters I mentioned and Matlekovic, and then those other 2 guys will get something close to 10 or so minutes. So predictions, man, look, one of the other things I found intriguing that Coach Lucas said is, man, because it's Carolina, because they're so good offensively, we're going to have to maybe throw some different defenses at them. So that's something the Tar Heels need to be ready for. So watch for that. Will we see some junk defenses from Miami, whether some zone, whether some, token pressure or full pressure? I don't know. We'll watch for that and to see what Coach means in that regard. But Carolina is going to have to diagnose that and just keep the offense going. That's been Carolina's calling card of late. They've been so good there. Now, the actual prediction, you know what we got to do? Carolina, in the last 4 games, I've purposefully said Carolina's not winning. Reverse jinx, and they're 4-0 in those games. Yes, including the Duke game on Saturday. So there's no way I can stop doing this until the jinx comes to an end. So Miami will win this basketball game 82-77. Congrats, Heels. That's 5 in a row, right? Ah, man, great stuff. Okay, you guys, we will be live tonight after the game. Make sure you're locked in and tuned in for that. I'll obviously have the link sent out both in our Discord as well as on Twitter and other places as well. If you haven't subscribed to the show, do it right now. If you want to make sure you get notifications when we're going live tonight after the game, hit the bell notification on YouTube, and that'll shoot you like a little pop-up notification, and then you can just click right into it. Easy as pie. Obviously, subscribe on your favorite audio recording platform as well. If you've not joined our Everydayers Club, that link's in the show notes, as is the link for the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, another great community of Tar Heels fans. We'd love to have you as part of it as well. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Man, gosh, this game makes me nervous tonight. Got to be ready to go. Cannot have a letdown, but we'll talk to you after it. Hopefully it's a party, not a therapy session, but until then, peace.